The Animal Part 3. Adam woke up to the warmth of being tucked in the bed. He yawned and saw that his shoulder that was swollen returned to its regular size. His foot was bandaged well with large, thick banana leaves fastened tightly to the wound. The room was dimly lit by candles. The surface looked bumpy and rough enough that it would cause discomfort just by walking across it. Roots and small branches poked out in a messy entanglement above the bed. Adam felt like a small rodent, hiding in the crevices of the cave. Back on his home island, he would always see them scurrying between burrows in constant fear of death. Being small meant that there was always a high chance of getting smashed and torn to shreds by some predator lingering in the shadows. This thought, however, made Adam rest easy, for he towered over the predators, and they came to fear humans themselves. Did you sleep well? To the side was the old woman, holding a bowl made from a turtle shell on her lap that had a damp cloth. She wore a fluffy wolf skin pelt. The neck was adorned with multiple trinkets made of different kinds of animal teeth. She had rabbit pelts on her limbs, all fashioned together by leather strings. "It's a good thing you had me, otherwise you'd surely be dead," she said while dampening the cloth and wiping the boy's face. Here was the same woman that kidnapped him from his home, dragged him out into the middle of the island, and now she is helping him? It doesn't make sense at all. For a while she was silently attending to his wounds, occasionally asking to lift his scrawny limbs to give it a thorough scrub. "You look like you have some questions. Go on. I will not bite." "Can you take me home?" he muttered. She chuckled. "Is that really your question?" Adam's face was emotionless and his body was sore. Inside he wanted to scream, "Yes!" But he wasn't so sure how she would react. All right, but not in your condition," she said reassuringly. She placed her hand along the boy's shoulder. "Either way, you are injured and I cannot allow a hurt boy to leave under my care." Adam could make out the image outside of the cave. It was treetops that were overlapping each other in a dense mesh of forest. Moldy moss covered every bark, very little sunlight peeked through the dense foliage, and the birds were singing a beautiful chorus. "Well, I should probably get us some dinner. I bet you're hungry." She paused, sniffed the air, and then said, "I will be right back." With that, she bolted out of the cave. Adam sat silently in the dimly lit room, wondering what was so urgent for the old coot to leave in such a hurry. Or why wasn't he even here? It took a few hours for the old scrawny woman to return with the carcass of a large pheasant. There was a good amount of meat on the bird's body, only the breast was cut out to be cooked. She sank her teeth in the body. Bones snapped and blood trickled down the pruny lips with each bite. Adam's stomach revolted in the sight. How can you eat it raw? The old woman's mouth was a mess of blood and feathers as she chewed loudly. "Cooked and seasoned meat is sour meat. Raw meat is the best. Much more gamey and fresh." "Don't you get sick from eating it raw?" "No, I have always eaten it like this." She stretched out her hand with a small chunk of flesh dangling from her palm. With a smug look on her face, she asked, "Want to try some?" "No!" "Ha! I thought so. Wait for a few minutes and your meal should be ready." "I need to see my parents though. They are probably worried sick about me." He set one foot onto the floor that began to jolt in the sharp pain. "I told you not to get out of bed," she said, changing out the bandages of the leg. "Give it 5 more days and you will be able to walk. There may be some discomfort, but in time you will be back to your old self." She handed him a small bowl that had cooked pieces of meat, along with slices of vegetables and pieces of fruit, and it smelled delicious. Adam completely forgot how hungry he was since the whole ordeal of getting kidnapped onto this island. He quickly took large chunks of food and stuffed it into his small mouth. What were those things back there? What things? The large cats in the grass. Ah, those were California cougars, she said while looking at the wound on his leg. They tend to be territorial and would run off any species who walk along their den. Would have been nice to know that before you left me there. Another thing, how am I supposed to leave when you said that path is the only way for me to get home? I never said to go through the cougar-infested grass. I said to go through the forest, which means that there are multiple ways into the grasslands. Adam thought about it, and then he felt really stupid. The days passed by. Adam would spend time in bed while the old lady brought him food and changed bandages with the occasional teasing. With the aid of the old lady, Adam would attempt to walk. At first, the walks were 5 minutes long before discomfort settled in, but within the 4th day, there was no pain. Even the injury on his shoulder was gone. Fully healed, he walked out of the cavern, which is actually a hollowed out sequoia. You're good now, let's get you home. You aren't going to trick me, are you? No, now, come on! The old lady tucked the kid underneath her arm and with the swiftness of a monkey swung through the treetops in rapid succession. It was like being on a roller coaster ride. They were moving so fast that everything was one giant great big blur to the untrained eyes. Miraculously, the lady was accurate in navigation through the dense foliage. A shrilling cry escaped the woman's throat. Mere moments, a similar cry rang out from the sky. A smile ran across her wrinkled old face. She is enjoying this way too much. With a mighty bound, the two bodies leapt out of the woodland areas and into the vast empty space of the clouds. Above them came a large, hulking, dark blue bird, grasping the old lady by her arm and carrying them off into the sky. Adam screamed. He was about to get home, but now is about to get eaten by some stupid bird. Calm down, this bird isn't gonna do nothing to you, she yelled through the sound of the rushing wind. Adam's scream subsided. They were ascending higher and higher, moving distant from the forest, then the island. The island was a large landmass floating above the clouds, with little streams of water rushing from it like tears off of a cheek. The island itself is split into 2 different climates. One half was a dry African savanna, while the other was a lush European alpine forest. In less than a minute, the island vanished within the clouds. Not long after appeared 9 small tropical islands, each a mile apart in a circle that is connected by wooden bridges. On the islands, life was simple. The adults would grow cattle and trade foods and goods, while the children played as well as took on some chores. It was past noon, so the children would already be done with the chores and play for the rest of the day. But when the village came into view, there was not a person in sight. They quietly landed on the soft earth. The old lady chirped towards a large behemoth of a bird, who sat down in response. Adam was so occupied to even notice how an old woman couldn't command such authority over a creature. Approaching a small hut, he saw wooden tables turned over. Cracked dishes and broken chairs were scattered across the room. Mom? Dad? He began to shuffle around hut to hut. Mom? Dad? He shouted. The woman examined the room. She hunched over to the broken tables and began sniffing, not paying heed to the frantic boy calling out for his parents. Where could they have gone? Where is everybody? He looked to the woman as if she has the answers. They were taken. Probably by some enemy raid or whatnot. She stood up. Can you help me find them? What does it look like I'm doing? She continued, sniffing the air. It went on for a couple minutes until her ears perked up over sniffing a shiny gold coin that was found between the splinters of the cracked wood of the broken table. Got the scent, she said, sniffing the tiny gold coin. Really? Yes, and We need to act quickly. This thing smells like blood. Great, let's go. Whoa, wait. Before we go, I want you to promise me this one thing. She looked at the boy with a stern look. I want you to come live with me on that island from now on, after we rescue your parents. Adam stood there briefly, and with a reluctance, he said, Okay. Alright. Follow me. They crossed the bridge towards the island that was opposite to them and plowed through the foliage where 3 large dock galleons came into view. On the beach lay 2 groups of people. The first had the adults, men, women, young and old, and the second group were whimpering children and toddlers, surrounded by 20 men armed with muskets, flintlocks, and cutlasses. The rest of the crew began to bind the villagers with chains across their necks, linking them together, and were being led to a galleon. Any who resisted would meet a bullet between their eyes. There, that's my mom and dad. Anne pointed at a couple to be about in their mid-30s. Alright, leave the rest to me. With that, she quickly vanished into the jungle foliage, only to return in mere moments. What did you do? I got some help. Down at the cliffside were dozens of little monkeys, chittering and hobbling into the camp. They swiftly went into the tents and quickly ran out of there, carrying ammunition and weapons. Alright, we disarmed them. Now, keep a close eye on me, kid. She leapt down the cliffside. Then a clamor of shouts filled the camp, and Adam looked on in horror. The old lady smashing through the captors, her face bare large canine teeth. Her entire body was muscular and well defined. There was a look of primal rage that emitted from the old lady. She tore limbs off, crushed skulls with strikes, and shattered bones. The men shot wildly at her. She was fast enough for the bullets to only graze her skin. Finally, one landed on her abdomen and she collapsed. A large, muscular man held a smoking rifle, standing proudly at the well-placed shot. His face was covered with piercings, a thin goatee, and had a necklace made of animal skulls. He continued to unload a round on the woman until the gun clicked. He was out of bullets.
Alright, let's load him up and leave the dead behind.
Then he froze. He felt a cold steel of a barrel press against the back of his head and heard a click. At the corner of his eye was a simian's hand, firmly gripping a gun.
Now ain't this extraordinary? I didn't think that monkeys were capable of using such a thing.
He threw his gun to the floor with a chuckle of amusement.
Men, if I get shot, kill the rest of the hostages.
They got us too, Jackson.
Shite.
Clasping tightly around their faces were the monkeys, and they were pressing pistols to the temples of the men.
Well, isn't this something? What are your demands, monkey? A banana?
The crew chuckled in amusement. Just then, the old body started to twitch. Then, slowly and groggily, it got up.
No fucking way.
Jackson couldn't believe it. No animal could survive a barrage of bullets like that. Then with a sudden lunge, she digs her 2 fists deep into the man's torso, caving in the entire chest. She lingered over the entire body, rose her head up, and screamed a deafening roar that is primitive and terrifying. With that, the monkeys shot the heads off of the remaining pirates. Once everything was settled, Adam climbed down the steep cliff. Ignoring the carnage of what had happened, he made his way towards the group. The adults were rushing towards the kids, embracing them in a loving fashion. But no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't find his parents. After a few hours of searching, he saw a pair of familiar faces. One was a man. His hair was tangled and messy. He had cuts and bruises across his body. The other was a female that had a slender figure. Her eyes were pale blue, and she was slightly lighter than her husband. "Dad! Mom!" He ran towards them and hugged them. Where have you been, Adam? We searched high and low for you. Yeah, about that. The old woman began approaching Adam's little family. Adam's father stood there defiantly between them. He's not going to let some savage woman harm his family. No, Dad, she's okay. She's a friend. What kind of friend does this? He points at all the carnage. I have to go with her. What? No. We spent weeks looking for you. We just got you back and now you are leaving? His mother stated. I made a promise to her. His father stepped in. Take me instead. I don't know what you want with my son, but do what you must with me. Look, I came on your son's behalf. I would have easily said no at your son's request to rescue you. But I know that family is everything, and I honor that. A large landmass emerges from the white clouds, much to the astonishment of the villagers. I promise you that under my care, your son will be safe and will achieve more in a lifetime by staying with me. She gasped and panted. Her clothing was stained on a deep red. A large projectile came at the woman. Without a glance, she caught it. It was a rock. The villagers then began to call her names and threw more stuff at her. One even landed on her forehead, drawing a little bit of blood. But she ignored the projectiles. She just stood there calmly, slowly inhaled large gulps of air, and then exhaled. The scent of the air is different. It was sweet, soothing, and was calming the villagers. And Adam, he felt so relaxed suddenly. Devil, you will not leave with our son, he said with less defiance. Dad, Mom, it's okay. I have to go with her. Oh, okay, son, but be careful. With one last hug, the couple gave away their only child. With that, the old woman summoned the bird, and they were on their way back to the floating island. Thank you guys so much for listening to my content, and be sure to subscribe to me and hit that like button if you want to see more of my content. And yeah, be sure to have a good day and stay cool. Bye bye for now.